Hello dear students. So today we are going to study chapter 6, that is the first chapter from your biology part. This is called life process. So first we will see what are the topics covered in this chapter, okay? So let's proceed. So the topics covered is we will have the introduction, we will understand what is nutrition, types of nutrition, how nutrition in human beings takes place, respiration, what is respiration, how respiration in plants and human beings takes place, what is transportation in both human beings and plants, and then we will study excretion in human beings and plants. Okay, so let us understand what is life process. At the very beginning, the name of the chapter is life process. So what is life process? See, we are living beings. Me, you, we all are living beings. Like we are from the animal kingdom, right? Humans are from the animal kingdom. Humans, all the other animals and the plants, we are all living beings, and we need certain things in our life. We need certain processes daily in our life for our growth, for our development, for we being alive. To be alive, we need all these things. There are certain processes which we need to keep us alive for our sustenance as well as maintenance. Okay, so those processes like excretion, respiration, circulation, like we take our food, right? So that food, when we take the food, it goes through a lot of processes, and that is called, it is called the digestive system. We all know that. We also take oxygen, we release carbon dioxide, so that will come under respiration. We have blood running through our veins. We need blood, we need the blood in our veins to run constantly. If the blood circulation stops, we might die. Okay, that means what? The point is that there are certain processes in all living organisms which are very essential. We don't even think that we are doing this, but by without our knowledge, we I don't think like, okay, I need to breathe now, I need to breathe constantly. I don't think about that, but these processes are constantly going on in our inside our body for our maintenance of our body as well as sustenance. Okay, to keep us alive. Okay, so all the processes, what are the processes? So there are certain processes in this chapter. We will go through digestion. Okay, we'll go through respiration, we will go through transportation, and then we will go through excretion. So these all four processes will come under life processes. Okay, they are very essential for life. So what is nutrition? Next is nutrition. Say nutrition is what, when we take, suppose if I eat rice today, okay, my body doesn't want rice. Okay, suppose if you have eaten some meat, if you have taken chicken, if you have taken fish, if you have taken eggs, if you have taken like some other kind of food, any food you take, our body is not craving for the food, but our body, what it wants is, it wants the carbohydrates that we get from the food, it wants the protein that we get from the food, it wants the fats that we get from the food. Okay, so those things, what we take from the solid food, that comes under nutrition, and nutrition is very essential for our growth. So in plants, the mode of nutrition in plants is like, when we are eating, we say, if we are eating healthy, we say this is a well nourished person, that is, he's a well nutritioned person. If someone is like, he is under eating, if he is not having healthy food, then we say that that person is malnourished, right? That means his nourishment is very low. Okay, very poor. So now in plants and animals, we come under animals, we humans. Now in plants and animals, there are two types of nutrition. Okay, the first is autotrophic nutrition and the second is heterotrophic nutrition. So what is autotrophic nutrition? Autotrophic nutrition means, if I can produce, or if I can make my own food inside my body, inside me, then I am an autotrophic organism. But if I cannot make my own food inside me, and I have to depend on others to make my food, then I am a heterotrophic. For example, we all know that plants, what they do, they take carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, they take sunlight, they take water, they take all the three things, they cook their own food, they make their own food, and then they have their food and they release oxygen. Simple words, can you understand? So that is it. So those are plants make their own food, okay? They don't depend on other plants, they don't depend on other animals for their food. Like now you can there are some exceptions, like the exception of Venus flytrap. It is a plant which does not produce its own food, but it depends on insects, okay? Insects and animals for its food. In animals, what happens is that I cannot make my own food inside my body. Although I can make it in the kitchen, but that's another matter. But what I need is I depend on other organisms. I depend on other plants. I depend on other animals, okay, for my food. I depend on them. If there are no plants, no other organisms, we humans cannot survive. Animals cannot survive if there are no plants. That means what? We depend on other living organisms for our food. So understood? And that is called heterotropic nutrition. So two types of nutrition, one is autotropic, second is heterotropic. Understood? Now let's go deep into autotropic. So as I said, what plants do? Plants come under autotropic nutrition. So what do plants do? Plants, see, I'll give you the very simplest of the explanations. What plants do? Plants need three things, okay? First, they will take water through the roots. Understood? Then they will take carbon dioxide through their leaves, okay? Simplest of the explanations I'm giving you. They will take water through the roots. They will take carbon dioxide through their leaves, and these things, both these things should be taken in presence of sunlight. They need sunlight too. That is daytime. In daytime, what plants do? They take these three things and then they make their food. What is their food? They prepare glucose, that is sugar, okay? They prepare glucose, and in turn they give one more thing, that is carbon dioxide and water. Glucose, carbon dioxide and water. Plants take three things. They take carbon dioxide, water and sunlight. They give three things: glucose, oxygen, water. So what they do, the three things that they produce: water, glucose and oxygen, sorry for that, water, glucose and oxygen. So oxygen is released into the atmosphere for us. They take the glucose as their own food, okay, and the remaining water vapor is also, like, some they take it, some they release, okay? So this is the very simplest of the explanation of how autotrophic nutrition works. So what are autotrophs? Autotrophs are, you can see here in the third point, autotrophs use simple or inorganic material and convert it to complex high energy molecules, that is carbohydrates. That is, they are taking the simplest of the things. They are just taking carbon dioxide, water, and they make it into complex high energy. They make it into something which gives you energy, like carbohydrates, okay? So glucose, we all know glucose is a type of sugar, okay? It is a carbohydrate. It will give you energy. So that is one more thing I would like to add here. See, plants need, as I said, they need carbon dioxide, water and sunlight. But there is one more thing, that is, you have heard it in your lower classes, that is chlorophyll. What is chlorophyll? The color of the leaves of the plants or trees is green because of the presence of this element that is called chlorophyll, okay? So chlorophyll is very important. If there is no chlorophyll in the plant, that means that plant cannot produce its own food. That means it will take carbon dioxide, water and sunlight in presence of chlorophyll. There should be chlorophyll in the plant, otherwise it cannot make its own food. Now the next thing is, this whole the procedure of making its own food by plants is called what? Photosynthesis. So photosynthesis is what? Photosynthesis is the process by which plants make their own food. So how they make their own food? If you see the equation, you have to remember this equation, very important. They will take carbon dioxide and water in presence of sunlight and chlorophyll, as you can see, and they will make glucose, oxygen and water, okay? So you remember this equation. This is very important from your exam point of view. 6 CO2, that is 6 carbon dioxides plus 12 H2O, that means 12 molecules of water in presence of sunlight and chlorophyll will give you one molecule of glucose, and glucose formula is C6H12O6, okay? And 6 molecules of oxygen plus 6 molecules of water. So understood what is autotropic nutrition? And just remember this equation is very important from your exam point of view, okay? Next is, what are the raw materials? As I've already said, the raw materials are four things, like basically three things, but one is must. All four are must. Like water, you'll take water from the roots, plant will take water from the roots, they will take carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, okay, and then they will take sunlight too. Sunlight should be present, and the plants should always have chlorophyll to like to process their own food, to make their own food, that is photosynthesis, okay. So what happens in photosynthesis is that first light is taken from the sunlight, okay, light energy is taken from the sunlight. Main events are what? Light energy is taken from the sunlight through by chlorophyll. Chlorophyll takes the traps the sunlight. Then this sunlight, that is light energy, is converted into chemical energy. How? It helps in breaking the water that is taken through the roots into hydrogen and oxygen, okay. We know that water is H2O, that means it has 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen. That means what? This H2O molecule is broken into two parts, that is hydrogen and oxygen, okay. And then the carbon dioxide that is taken, through the leaves is reduced, that is, it is broken down to like form another substance. These are carbohydrates, okay. So next we move stomata. So I think you have heard this word stomata. Stomata is what? If you see a leaf, any leaf of any plant under microscope, you will see very tiny pores, just like the pores that we have on our skin, okay. We have very tiny pores on our skin through which sweat comes out. If you're tired, if you're doing hard work, we all sweat, जिसको पसीना कहते हैं. If your sweat comes out, it comes out through the small pores, very minute pores. Similarly, the minute pores or the tiny pores that we cannot see, it is very difficult to see with naked eyes. You will see it under microscope, okay. Those tiny pores are called what? They are stomata. They are present on the surface of the leaf. Suppose this is the leaf. On the surface of the leaf, you will find the stomata. So what is the function of stomata? The carbon dioxide that is taken from the atmosphere is how it is taken. It is taken through it is taken through stomata, okay. Again, after preparing the food, the plants make what? Oxygen. We know that plants give us oxygen. How do they release that oxygen into the atmosphere? They release it through stomata. So stomata is like the nose of what? Plants. Like we breathe in, no? We breathe in, we are taking through the nose, we breathe out. Similarly, plants also breathe in carbon dioxide and breathe out oxygen. Through what? Through stomata. Stomata is like the nose of the if you want to remember it that way, stomata is like just like the functioning of the nose of the plants, okay. Now another thing what happens is that during transpiration process, okay, during this whole process, what happens is that water is also removed. How? You will say that no, I have never seen water coming out from leaves. You will see water coming out from the leaves. How you will see? Let me tell you. There is a very there is an example, there is an activity you can do. Take a polythene, okay, take a polythene, transparent polythene, white color, and tie it in 2-3 leaves. Take 2-3 leaves. Suppose if you have any plant, any flower plant or any plant nearby your house or anywhere, just take a polythene, tie it around the leaves, like you just cover the leaves, tie it very tightly, leave it overnight. Next morning you will see water drops on the inner side of the polythene, okay. That means what? Water has come out through the stomata. Water vapor has come out through the leaves, okay. And those water vapors, since it cannot mix with the atmosphere, the polythene is blocked, so you will see water present on the inner side of the polythene, okay. So next we have understood what is autotrophic nutrition. Next we'll move to heterotrophic nutrition. So what is heterotrophic nutrition? Heterotrophic nutrition means, as I said, we animals fall under heterotrophic nutrition, okay. So heterotrophic nutrition is that how, if we depend on other plants and animals for our food directly or indirectly. Directly means what? If I take a carrot, I will directly eat that carrot, okay. So that is, I'm directly depending on that, okay. That means I'm directly taking the, if I'm eating fish, I'm directly eating the fish, so I'm directly dependent on that animal. How indirectly? Suppose you have seen like some plants that, like if you have seen a a betel nut tree, if you have seen. So have you seen the orchids? Kopo full orchids will just stick to the stem of the betel nut, okay, betel nut tree. So what happens is that it is not eating the tree, but it takes its nutrition through that tree, okay. So those are parasitic, okay, those are parasitic. So three types of heterotrophic nutrition: one is holozoic, another is saprophytic, and another is parasitic. So holozoic is what? We are holozoic nutrition. Animals are many and most of the animals are holozoic nutrition. So how? They will directly take the grass, they will directly eat the other animal. So they will directly depend on the solid food, and then they break the solid food, break inside the body to get the nutrition. Saprophytic is what? Suppose there is a dead animal or decaying leaves or any that is decaying matter, okay, some organisms will feed on those. So those are what? Saprophytic nutrition. What is parasitic nutrition? Parasitic is like, there are some plants or there are some animals, there are some microorganisms also. Either they will live inside your body or they will live outside your body. They will stick to the outside of the body, whom they consider host, okay. That part to whom they stick is called host. They will stick to that organism and derive nutrition through it. That is, that suppose if there is a mango tree, you have seen some leaves or some other like plants or leaves or other like, what to say, some foreign plants, you can say that foreign plants coming out of the stem of the mango tree. Why? Because those are what? Those are parasitic plants. Parasitic plants, they stick to that mango tree to obtain nutrition through the mango tree, to obtain nutrition for them through the mango tree. Understood till here? Okay. Next is nutrition. So nutrition, what happens is that first there are 5 steps in nutrition. Nutrition means what? The process of taking food and then extracting all the necessary materials from that food for our growth, and then removing the unwanted materials. Like when I take food through the mouth, that is called ingestion. Then it goes through stomach and large intestine, small intestine, all these things, and that whole process is called digestion. Then what happens is that absorption. After digestion, all the required materials by the body is absorbed. Now after absorption, it is being utilized also. Now if I'm taking a lot of protein in my food, the protein is absorbed by the body, and after that, that protein will be used by my muscles or by my eyes or every whichever organ needs it. So that process is called the utilization of the, like, utilization of the materials is called assimilation. And after that, what we don't require, what our body doesn't require, is removed from our body, and that process is called egestion, okay. So in nutrition in human beings, if you can see this diagram, please pay interest to that. You can pause it here and just check the diagram. I will give you a thorough, like, easiest explanation, okay. I'm not going through the textbook to explain you because that will be very lengthy process, okay, for this video. So I will give you the easiest and the shortest explanation. You can understand the whole process very easily, okay. Suppose, and let me show you. What happens is that first we take, suppose this is, I'm taking rice, for example, I'm taking rice. First I take food into my mouth. So the mouth contains of certain parts, okay, like my cheeks, okay, my lips, my tongue, my teeth. These all the parts of the mouth, all the parts of the mouth through which I'm taking the food. This mouth is called the buccal cavity, okay, it is called the buccal cavity. All the parts, that is cheek, if there is no cheek, when you're eating, all the things will come out from the side, okay. Suppose if you're not having your teeth, you cannot chew. Suppose if you're not having your tongue, like, you cannot push the food inside, okay. So we need all these parts of the mouth, and this is called what? Buccal cavity. Now after we take food into the mouth, what we know that we have salivary glands in our mouth. And what do the salivary glands produce? They produce saliva. Now saliva has a very important, like, function. It helps in like, it has an element. It releases a substance called amylase, amylase. It releases a substance called amylase. As soon as we take food, that amylase helps in breaking the carbohydrates in the food to make sugar, okay, breaking the carbohydrates into the food into sugar, Okay, the first step of digestion, as soon as you put food into the buccal cavity, into the mouth, salivary glands will release saliva. That saliva has amylase, and that amylase will produce what? Will produce starch or starch or sugar from will produce sugar from the carbohydrates. Okay, next, that food is being pushed by the tongue into the esophagus. That is, it is a long pipe which goes from the mouth to the stomach. That is, all the food will be passed through the esophagus to the stomach. Okay, so what happens in the esophagus? Esophagus is a long tube and a wavy tube. It is like a wave, understood? So esophagus helps in moving the food items from your mouth to the stomach. In the stomach, when the food reaches the stomach has what to say, the stomach is a sac like structure, okay, bag like structure. The stomach has one very important thing, it is called mucosa. It has an inner line, okay, it has a wall lining. The walls of the stomach will have a lining. That means it has a surface to it, and that is called mucosa. It produces what? Mucus. Okay, so when that chewed food, when after chewing the food we pass it through the esophagus and it moves to the stomach, that chewed food is then mixed with the mucus produced by the mucosa in the stomach, and that after it is mixed with the mucus, it is called what? Chyme, chyme. Okay, now what happens is that in our stomach there is a juice produced, it is called gastric juice. Okay, it is called gastric juice. Now that gastric juice has two important parts to it, two parts. Okay, one is hydrochloric acid. We all know HCl, it is an acidic substance, it is called hydrochloric acid. Second is pepsin. So what does hydrochloric acid do? It helps in, first of all, it helps in breaking the food items. Okay, secondly, it helps in killing the microorganisms that may be present in your food. We don't know, if we are eating food, it may have some microorganisms, it may have some bacteria to it. Okay, so that acidic substance, that is the hydrochloric acid, will like kill the microorganisms present in the food. Second item is pepsin. What pepsin does is, since we have taken the food, the carbohydrate that was present was already started converting into sugar in our mouth. Okay, but when the food reaches the stomach, that pepsin starts breaking the what? It starts breaking the proteins. It starts breaking the proteins into what? Into, it starts breaking the proteins. So what are proteins broken into? So I'm telling you now, proteins are broken into amino acids. Okay, they are broken into simpler substances called amino acids. Okay, now after the food is passed through the stomach, that food will go through small intestine. Okay, now as soon as the food reaches the small intestine, so there is an information passed. Okay, we have a organ called liver. We all know that liver produces what? Liver produces a juice, it is called digestive juice. It is called bile juice. The liver produces the bile juice and stores it in another organ, it is called gallbladder. Okay, gallbladder. Liver produces the juice but stores it in the gallbladder. That gallbladder, as soon as the food reaches the intestine, that gallbladder starts sending the bile juice into the small intestine. At the same time, we have another organ, it is called pancreas. So as soon as the food reaches the small intestine, both the pancreas and the liver, that is the gallbladder, will supply the bile juice as well as the pancreatic juice into the small intestine. Now the small intestine is what? It is like a small, tiny, long tubular structure. It is very long, tiny, narrow tubular structure, like it is like a pipe. Okay, it is narrow and long. So food is passed through that and it starts getting like digested. Okay, now this small intestine has some finger like structures on the inner side. Suppose this is the tube, inside it will have some finger like structures. Okay, so those finger like structures have blood vessels. So when the food is being digested in the small intestine, all the carbohydrates, fats, amino acids are broken down and released. Okay, so those protruding, that is the protruding things, like it looks like fingers. Okay, you can see it in your book, the picture is given. So those are blood vessels. So those blood start absorbing the carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. Okay, but before absorbing those, the condition is what? the carbohydrates is converted into the carbohydrate is converted into sugar, protein is converted into amino acid, and fat is converted into small fatty acids. Okay, they are converted into simpler substances. So after the food is passed through small intestine, it is completely digested. But what happens, sometimes we eat some foods, there are some substances in our food which do not get digested. Suppose if you, for example, if you eat while eating oranges, if you eat some orange seeds, if you take in some orange seeds, okay, so those are not able to digest. Okay, so what happens, all the undigested food, water and minerals are, the rest of the part, the whatever is digested, it is taken, and the remaining things are sent to the large intestine from the small intestine. So all the undigested food or the waste are passed through the large intestine, and from the large intestine it is moved to the anus for excretion. Okay, so here I want to tell one more thing, is that the small intestine, no, the small intestine, in the small intestine what happened is that digestion completed, digestion starts with the mouth and ends with small intestine. Okay, in the small intestine all the essential nutrients are absorbed, that is fatty acids, amino acids, carbohydrates, that is sugar, are absorbed by the blood. So that process is called absorption. And then the blood, we all know that blood circulates through our body, so blood starts transporting all the things to the different parts of the body for utilization. So that utilization is what it is called assimilation. And after that the remaining waste materials are passed through the anus for excretion. Understood? So this is the simplest explanation I can give you overall to understand the whole process. Okay, so here you can see what is mouth. Mouth, like, it takes the whole food. Teeth, what does it do? It like chews, grinding of food. Tongue will just roll, taste, swallow, push down the food. We all know without tongue you cannot, like, your food cannot go inside. Salivary gland, what they do, they like make saliva and start as I said, as I already explained this, saliva will start, saliva has a substance called amylase, it's called salivary amylase. It starts converting the glucose or the carbohydrate, it starts converting the starch or the carbohydrate into glucose or sugar. Okay, esophagus, what is esophagus? Esophagus is just the connection between our mouth and our stomach. Okay, the stomach has some gastric glands which release gastric juice. That gastric juice has two parts, that is hydrochloric acid and pepsin. Pepsin breaks the proteins into what? Pepsin breaks the proteins into what? Amino acids. Yes. So understood. Now another thing is what? The stomach has also another substance, it is called mucus. Okay, then we move to the small intestine. You can go through all these lines, I have already explained. Small intestine are very tiny, long, tubular structures. Okay, they what do they complete the digestion of carbohydrate, proteins and fats. So fats are converted into fatty acids, carbohydrates into glucose, proteins into amino acids. I have seen all these things. So the finger like projections, okay, so here I want to point out the finger like projections, the finger like things inside the small intestine, these are called, they have a name to it, these are called villi. Okay, they are called villi. They help in the absorption of food. Okay, understood? So in small intestine, another your livers and the gallbladder starts sending the bile juice, and the pancreas starts sending the pancreatic juice for the complete digestion of food. Okay, the pancreas secretes pancreatic juice which contains enzymes like trypsin for digesting proteins, lipase for breaking down emulsified fats. Fats are present in the intestine in the form of large globules which make it difficult for enzymes to act on them. Bile salts break them down into smaller globules which increase the efficiency of enzyme action. So these are the uses, you read through them. Uses of what? Both the how, this is uses means what? They are the how, basically they, in these lines it is said how the pancreatic juice helps. So pancreatic juice helps this has this trypsin, okay, which helps in digestion of proteins, and it has lipase which helps in breaking down of fats, emulsified fats. Now fats are usually in large globules, I mean like large molecules, okay, which is difficult for the enzymes to break them. Okay, so what? The bile juice comes into play. So bile salts, what happens? It breaks the fat into smaller molecules or globules which increase the efficiency of the enzymes. Okay, so what does the large intestine do? Oh, what I wanted to say is when you take food, we also take water. So where does the water go? The water goes along with the food, okay, but that water is absorbed in the large intestine, okay. Excess of water is being absorbed in the large intestine, and the rest of the material, that is unwanted waste material, is passed through the anus for excretion. So that's it, boys. Till here, half of your chapter is completed. Like the remaining two things we will do in the next class. That is, we have understood nutrition. We have understood nutrition. We have understood how nutrition in plants and human beings work, autotrophic and heterotrophic nutrition, and as well as the whole digestive system in humans. In the next class, what we will do is we will understand what is like how transportation works, how respiration works, that is the inhaling and exhaling of the air, the carbon dioxide or oxygen in both plants and animals. So we will understand transportation, how things are being transported to different parts of the body, that is respiration, how we like inhale and exhale the things. We will understand the whole process, and the remaining excretion. So these three topics we will consider, we will like cover in the next class. So I hope you understood till here. Very important process, the digestive system of in human beings, very important process. Just go through this very easy process, very easy to understand. If you like read it point wise, very easy. So please go through this video again, and like if you have any doubt, you can ask me, okay. Thank you, boys.